8 o'clock. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 12th Lebanon City Council meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Kincaid, will you lead us, please?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mike. Next, we'll move on to the roll call members. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilman Kincaid.
Present.
Councilman Campbell. Councilman Jones.
Here.
Councilman Robertson.
Here.
Councilman Copeland.
Here.
Councilman Wheat.
Present.
Councilman Fleming.
Absent.
Got it.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to the approval of our minutes, and I believe we have two sets of minutes.
We do. July 8th, July 22nd.
So July 8th and July 22nd. So it would entertain a motion or any changes to our July 8th minute meetings. Okay. We entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion we approve the July 8th meeting minutes.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Those minutes are approved. And now to the July 22nd. Any edits to those?
I make a motion we approve the July 22nd minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, those minutes are approved. Okay. No old business tonight from me. Anything from council?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Then we'll move on to Resolution 2019-08, which is additional appropriation request and public hearing. Unfortunately, I discovered this afternoon at about 4 o'clock that the notice for the public hearing had been issued for 4 p.m. We were not here at 4 p.m. and thus therefore cannot hold the public hearing. So unfortunately, we will have to renotice that for 10 days. So we'll probably address that either at a special meeting on Friday, the 23rd, or at our next meeting on the 26th. So there's a 10-day waiting period on that. So clerical error that we have to, unfortunately, we don't want to have a public hearing when it's not properly noticed, so we can't do that. So
Question.
Yes.
Is there a time limit on this bid?
There is. It's a 60 days. We're still within the window. The 23rd will be the 60-day notice. However, Kevin's going to contact the contractor to say, are you okay if you wait till Monday the next day or the next working day?
So if the answer is no, then we'll move it up.
If the answer is no, we'll notice it up for the 23rd. So that's going to be his first call tomorrow, is to figure out if they're comfortable with that. So
Thank you.
We assume they will be, but we'll double check. So, all right. So that just leaves one thing then, which is the Next Level Trails Grant application presentation and discussion. So Derek Warren, you're going to talk about this for us.
Thank you. Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, so we had a working session about a month and a half ago, and some of you were able to be there. So you've heard a little bit, those of you that were there, on what I have to say tonight. But I'm here tonight to introduce to you an opportunity to apply for a state grant that's out there right now for trail development. It's called the Next Level Trails Grant through DNR. They released last December, they announced that they were going to release $90 million worth of state funding for trail projects, and they're going to release it in 3 separate rounds. Round 1 was almost immediate. They released it in late December, and applications were due in the end of January. So at that point, we didn't have anything necessarily in the process to apply for round 1. So we decided, okay, let's start to look at possibly round 2. So to do our due diligence, we hired DLZ to help us with some of the application process, some of the due diligence beforehand. So we've gone through some of the process to get us to a point where we could possibly apply. We had to know exactly what we were applying for, what we could apply for, what kind of match we needed to throw in, what we were going to be able to receive as gifts that were going to apply for that match. So we've done quite a bit of work. But let me give you just a couple stats here that I learned last Friday about the grant process and how successful, or how overwhelming, I guess, for lack of a better term, it's been in round 1. So again, this is for trail development for the entire state. Any new trail necessarily that changes the use of an existing trail even. So if you're taking it from one surface to another, it does qualify. So in round 1, there was, they released $25 million in round 1 out of the 90. Round 1 applications totaled $143 million, and that was 82 applicants statewide. they were only able to award 17 of those to get that down to the $25 million. So I think that's a huge number, that $143 million worth of applications. It goes to show you how important of an amenity trails are these days. I used to say trails were right there at the top of the list, maybe number 2 as far as quality of life amenities go, but after 6-7 years of trail research and being involved with trails, no offense to anything else we've done quality of life wise, but trails has got to be at the top of the list. It is one of the amenities that shows no discrimination, young, old, rich, poor. It just simply doesn't matter. Anyone can use a trail. My 92-year-old grandmother, her husband, who's 90, uses it every day. He gets out on it at Sam Ralston Road and rides all the way to where the pavement ends, basically what we funded several years ago. And the only reason he turns around there is because the surface isn't good enough for him to ride the bicycle that he has. So, you can be newborn being pushed down that thing in a stroller. It could be summer, winter, fall, spring. It's used year round. So it is the one amenity that has no boundaries, basically. So, and I think that shows in that $143 million round 1 application. Again, 82 applicants, 17 awarded. The minimum match for this application is 20%. The average for round 1 awardees was 33%. There were some that were 50%, there were some that were 20%, but it somewhere averaged 33. There were more on the higher end than there were on the lower end. So information we received last Friday at a workshop, DNR workshop, is to stick out in the crowd, you need to be up there towards 40 to 50%. I think to have a good application. What we're thinking about applying for, and I can show you here on the screen, give you the scope of the idea of what our application might look like. I'm going to broadcast up there, gentlemen. Thank you. Okay, so in our application, we've had conversations with the Friends of Boone County Trails and what it would possibly look like to improve the trail between us and Thorntown. This is conversation, this dates back to 2015 with this council on taking ownership of that trail. At that time, the city council only felt it was appropriate to take ownership up to Center Township Road for whatever reason. And at that time, there was some money given from the city council and the money given from Witham to pave an 8-foot trail from Sam Ralston Road to Center Township line. Basically, actually, we're about a half mile short of that. The 8-foot wide trail is pretty narrow. We suggested at the time, staff did that it should be somewhere between 10 and 12, but the decision was made to get more distance with the 8-foot. In that process, the subsurface wasn't necessarily prepped correctly, so we have some heaving going on out there, some pretty big bumps. Slag expands and contracts with humidity, and we, at the time, just paved right over the top of it. So that's why we're dealing with some of the issues that we're dealing with. Slag should be broken up before it's paved on top of. So with that and the continuing the conversations with the Friends of Boone County Trails between us, again, Lebanon and Sarah Plant Road, they still own from Center Township to Sarah Plant Road. So if the Friends donates that to us, we can use that as part of our grant match. And in that process, apply for resurfacing the trail from Sam Ralston Road to Sarah Plant Road, 12 feet wide, the entire distance between us and Thorntown, with us taking ownership of the rest of it from Center Township to Sarah Plant Road. So that would fall underneath our ownership, and maintenance would go to the Parks Department. Once the surface is down, it's some tree trimmings and very easy maintenance, maybe some crack repair along the way. So the first part of the application is Sarah Plant Road, Sam Ralston Road, 12 feet wide all the way. The second part of the application picks it up from Main and Meridian. Hopefully you can see this here, where we left off with the Main Street Trail project. brings it down Meridian Street, over to Elm Street on the south end of this building, back over to Southeast Street on the east side, and then a trail very similar to the Northeast Street trail, a 10-foot wide concrete path on the east side of East Street, Southeast Street, down to Noble Street, which is basically the yellow line there right north of the blue line, down 2 parcels to a strip of land that we just recently purchased that gives us access into Abner Longley Park. So we had the opportunity a few months ago to purchase some land adjacent to Abner Longley, which included a 30-foot wide strip that goes out to Southeast Street. We're trying to take advantage through some acquisition of any means necessary to get access into that park. So the idea was right in hand with this extension for the trail, bringing it into Abner Longley, and that gives us this access here. The trail continues on the north side of the football field into what I'm referring to as the Conservation Club, which is now City Park, but those of us that have been around long enough know it's the Conservation Club. So the Conservation Club property, north side, down through access very close to the dog park, the new dog park, and connects over to the Hendricks Drive Trail, the Safe Routes to School trail that we did 6-7 years ago, which essentially completes the Big Four trail from what we would have ownership of, Sarah Plant Road, to the fairgrounds. But it's bigger picture than that, actually. It is completing a trail from Colfax all the way to the fairgrounds. Colfax received grant money in round 1 to connect their community to the Sugar Creek Bridge, where the Big Four currently dead ends. So when you start talking about big picture, you're talking about a 16-mile trail from the fairgrounds all the way to Colfax. And you're starting to talk about a stretch there that starts to compete with some of the big boys around. I've got a list here.
Monon?
No, not quite Monon, but it's the Nickel Plate Trail is right up there. So you've got the Panhandle Pathway, which is 22 miles, the Nickel Plate, which is 36. But you're starting to compete with some of those bigger state trails. And if we can get the 4-mile section between us and Whitestown figured out, if the county can get that worked out, we're talking about being connected essentially from Zionsville, south of Zionsville, all the way to Colfax. And this is a state visionary trail. So this trail, the big picture is to get this thing all the way to Lafayette. So this is a big opportunity to do our part to make sure that we're connected there. So as far as matching grant, what you can apply, what you can't. It looks like we've done an appraisal on the land from Center Township to Sarah Plant Road, and that appraises at $414,000. So we can use that donation as part of our match, and we can also use the construction of the Main Street Trail costs in our match as well. So with those two, your combined gift matches total $959,000. So that's without being out of pocket, basically anything. The numbers for the entire improvement that I just described is coming in right at $5.4 million total. With the $959,000 gift portion of the match, that leaves us, kind of in a shortfall for cash to get to that percentage that we stick out. So basically, what I'm here for is to ask you to consider throwing in some money to make this application. And I got some numbers here for you. I'm going to start with the high numbers, and then I'll work my way down. But to get to a 45% match, including the $959,000, all these numbers include that amount. We're looking at 1.48 in cash to get to 45%. There are certainly no guarantees.
This includes the 950.
That includes the 950. So that puts us at a total of 2.4 in the total match if we throw in 1.48. And even at 45%, again, there's certainly no guarantees. I mean, there's going to be a larger amount of applications this time. But I think if we're going to consider this, if we're going to go down this path, it makes sense to stick out in the crowd to get this done. And essentially, we're better than a dollar for dollar match here. So this is going to be the cheapest way to possibly explore getting this thing done. So again, 45% cash, we need 1.48. To get down to 40%, I've got the numbers right here so you can see them. Sorry, it's not an exact science here to get that up on the screen. 40%, we need 1.2 in cash. To get to 35%, 936,000. And to get to, oh, this didn't transfer over very well, sorry. Oh, there it is. 33%, we need $828,000 to get to 33%. And again, I didn't go any lower than that because at 33%, I'm not sure how much consideration we get there with that. I think that would be the very least we would have to put in, and that doesn't make us stick out in the crowd very much here. So to stick out, again, 45% would be great, 50% would be even better, but I know, funds are tight and everybody needs them. So
Now, Derek, we could also go to other entities if they wanted to participate, community foundation.
Yep.
Witham's per se in the past, township,
Yep.
county, anybody, right?
Yep, I've reached out to Center Township to see, several organizations, Center Township, Community Foundation. We've even talked to the county council to see if they'd be willing to throw in on this. Don't have any commitments yet.
What'd they say?
Well,
County council?
county council isn't in the trail game yet. They haven't bought in yet. I don't think. There's more support there than there has been in the past.
What about the township trustee?
Township trustee, they only meet once a month, and it's going to be the end of the month before I can get in front of them. I've communicated with them. They know what we're asking here. I've asked for them to chip in a couple $100,000. Every dollar amount makes a difference. So if we pledge a certain amount, and everything we add on top of that, in my opinion, is icing on top of the cake. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other, and I don't predict. Every time I do, I'm wrong. But my opinion is we go in as we're going to own this thing. We own it, and everything else we can get makes our application that much stronger.
When's the application due?
Yep, applications open October 1st, and they're due by November 1st.
And when's it awarded?
It will be awarded late 2019, early 2020, and we have 4 years to complete the project if awarded.
4 years to complete the project?
Yes, and we've been working very closely with DLZ. They've already they've got a number for the design. They've got everything. It's just a matter of, and the design soft costs are eligible. Yep. So
They're all included in this?
Yep. Yeah. So if we were to get to that 45% match amount, that does include design work in there. So there wouldn't be any additional costs as far as design work goes. Now, if we want to go ahead and get some plans going, again, everything we do makes our application look better, but it is eligible if we decide just to throw it into the grant amount.
Derek, do we make the commitment, but we don't actually have to spend it
Correct.
over a period of, we can spend it over a period of 4 years?
That's correct. It's the grant it's not a reimbursement grant. So the state gives, we exhaust our money, then the state starts to give us the money when we hit those milestones. So it's not that we're out the entire 5.5. It's we're out the amount that we pledge, and then they start to contribute at that point as needed. So they start to write the checks.
You draw it down with like a construction loan, don't you?
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And also, if we're not awarded the grant, we're also not out of,
Right.
we don't pay anything either, right? It's only if it's constructed.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Only if it's awarded. And honestly, if it's awarded and all of a sudden we say, look, we don't have it, it goes away.
So in the grant application, then, all you need to know is, or all you need to do is put in X amount of dollars that the applicant's willing to commit to towards this project.
Yep. The funds provided by the applicant, we are required to submit a statement from the fiscal agent certifying the availability and source of funds along with our application. So the interpretation we have of that is Tanya would write a letter that says there's X amount in this account number and there's X amount in this line that would support the amount pledged by the city council.
What about maintenance costs? If we're in charge of that, are we going to have to hire additional people? Are we going to have to buy additional equipment?
John, do you want to touch on that? Can you come, I'm sorry, can you come up and people at home watching?
Yes, no, Derek and I have discussed this for quite some time. Yeah, we're already taking care all the way up to Thorntown there anyway. We're taken care of for the most part. Same thing going on through town. We wouldn't need any more staff. We have the equipment. We're good. Will it take a little more time when we're taking care of the snow and things like that? Absolutely, but we have the manpower.
It's not much of an incremental cost for us.
Right.
So.
We're already taking care of the sides, the trees. Thorntown has struggles quite a bit. Angie reached out. We've talked to her, so we've been helping that. Angie Moody is the parks person in Thorntown, so we've worked together. We have the manpower and the equipment, so we've been doing that for some time.
So we're taking care of it for everybody's benefit.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it's a great thing
It's nice of us to do
The
that.
trails are, it is. We don't spend a lot of time on it. It's already pretty well maintained. Currently, the Big Four is helping the cost of mowing it. We haven't really maintained the mowing. We do some of the spray work, which is just a flight down, flight back. But yeah, we get the calls for any branches being down, anything like that, so we do take care of it anyway, whether we want to or not. But it's really not, once it's maintained, taken care of, it's good to go. But yeah, we'll be taking care of the snow removal anyway. Just take a little bit longer, and that's about it.
Yeah, and typically on these trails, rural trails like this,
we don't.
there's no snow removal.
We would with the city trail.
Yeah, we talk about getting into town. But the usage in the wintertime, like I said, it shows no discrimination. I mean, people in the rural sections of the state that have these trails, I mean, you get cross-country skiers on them in the wintertime who want the snow on there. So it really opens up kind of the use when you don't remove the snow. This surface is built to a 25-year standard, more or less. It should need very minimal amount of work over a 25-year period as far as asphalt repair goes.
Unlike the first time we paved it.
Right.
Okay.
Derek, how much did we spend on building the trail the first time?
We spent 40 and Witham gave 40, so 80,000. And it was, it was it was a good faith effort, but it just wasn't a good execution to get 25 years, I think we were all excited to get some trail and wanted to get some asphalt down, and that seemed like the best idea at the time to get.
So we won't repeat that mistake this time, right?
Correct.
I'll make a comment that I know Keith is just dying to say, because of many discussions that he and I have had about the years ago. Maybe this is your thought, I don't know. Many years ago, there was a county park tax, and it would sure be nice if we had that county park tax again in this type of a situation where we could take county park tax money and apply that towards the maintenance of a trail that goes through Boone County, where the majority of it's going through. That Lebanon looks like has an opportunity to have the majority length of it compared to Thorntown, Whitestown, and Zionsville. So, my thoughts, and Mayor, we talked in our discussions about, it'd be nice if we could reach out to the others and say, can you help us? Are you willing to help us?
So I would say we've not been doing this in a vacuum. There have been how many summits we've had? We've had several different meetings. It's
2 years worth.
Yeah, 2 years worth of meetings to get to this point. I don't think the county is fully ready to, embrace it. I don't think I think they're still worried about paving roads, and haven't prioritized trails to the same extent the city has, where I think for us as a city, we kind of see the value. I mean, essentially for us, this is connectivity. It's not just a trail, it's also a sidewalk for people, right? We've seen, how many sidewalks we need to replace in town, right? This is a big stretch of sidewalk too we're going to be replacing. I think we kind of seen the value of integrating trails into our kind of pedestrian network. The county doesn't necessarily have a pedestrian network, so they're not really used to this, and it's kind of out of their bailiwick. So the topic of the county park tax has come up before in our summits. There really wasn't much interest at all, I think, from the county level at this time, but they're the
It
ones that have
seems
to
to
do
me,
that.
I remember we set the county park tax levy at 0 because there was no need to collect it because there was no expenditures. I could be wrong, I could be dreaming
Well,
that, but I think we did.
The park tax, the county park tax was divided up into every community that had a park, by
Okay.
percentage of,
I could
I
be,
think, size of the community or whatever.
Okay.
Because at one time, years ago, when they had the county park tax, all the money went to Lebanon.
oh, okay. I'm
For
probably
Memorial
thinking another
Park,
fund.
all of it went to Lebanon,
Okay.
way back when. And then they changed it, and because new commissioners came in, and one of them said, why do we have a county park tax and all of it goes to Lebanon when other communities have parks? So then they sat down and they divided it up by a certain percentage, and that's how the park tax was divided that way.
Okay.
Because the county did not have
Any
a
parks.
county park.
Right.
Okay, now, my understanding with the Colfax end of this trail is that they're gonna fix it up, and I think it's 3 years or so many years, that's gonna revert to the county. And the county's gonna take it and maintain it, which means at that point, the county's gonna have to create a park board of some kind, because now they have a trail of some kind, in my opinion. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's the way it has to work.
I would say we were surprised when we read the article in the paper that was going to happen, because everything we had heard is the county didn't want to own any.
And I don't want us, if we take it, if the Boone County Trails gives it to us, I don't want to give anything back to the county.
I would agree with you. That's our position. If we're going to take this from the Friends of Boone County Trails, use it as a match, construct it, build it, we would not revert it to the county. Our
Yeah,
plan is
unless they want to
we would keep it.
pay us for what we put into it, you know?
Yeah. So.
Those are the exact conversations we've had. We've even isolated that expense of this project between Center Township and Sarah Plant Road. And there's your number, there's 20% if you want to throw it in our application, then we can maybe have those conversations. But for them to come back and say, well, we want ownership for something you paid for, that's gonna be a tough sell for me to swallow. I assume you all as well. So, I'm on the Friends of Boone County Trails board as well, and we were all shocked that the section we gave to Colfax was going to get handed over to the county. They've never given us any indication that they were ready to get in the trail game. We've had extensive conversations with them about this section between Center Township and Sarah Plant Road.
That was the discussion in 2015.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on the county council, and at that point, we had a discussion. Lebanon said, we'll stop at Center Township, and the county will take it over, and between Center Township and Thorntown, we put money in the county budget for trail maintenance for that section, assuming it would get transferred over, and then that never happened.
I do think there's a few people in the county now that really have an interest in the trails, so maybe something will happen down the road here. I don't know if it happens soon.
But
I
it's
think
not
it
going to
helps us
happen
ask.
before October, though. That's the problem.
Yeah,
It's-
it may
so-
not happen before then, and my opinion is I think trails are important, and I've said this for a long time in past before I ever became a councilman back in my days at the county, that trails were important back then. That's over 25 years ago. They needed to have a trail through Boone County, and a trail to tie in all the communities is what we need in the future. And, I think if we can find the avenue to keep making it happen,
Well,
I
and
guess in this program, what I would suggest, or what I'd like to see us do anyway, is really to work in town first and get that done, and then go outside and fix that piece out there. That's what I'd like to see, but, I think we can do whatever direction, but
Well,
maybe
and-
both at the same time. I don't know.
Well, and I think the reason we wanted to bring it up is that, this is really the first time the trails offered any, or the state has offered any significant money for trails specifically. And so if we're looking at doing these projects, we want to participate. Now is our maybe best opportunity. I mean, I'm assuming that the 80% of the people that didn't get the grant in the first round are going to submit again.
When's it due again?
They start accepting them October 1st, and deadline is November 1st. And they encourage you getting them in as early as possible, because if something's not right with the application, they will make comments and allow you to adjust those.
I would make a suggestion, just to help the application, is that we try to figure out how we can fund to get this thing under a design contract.
So we
Right
have
now.
we have a proposal for that now.
So in other words, we can add that to the application, that we are under contract now with a consultant now to help with the design of the project. Then along to whatever we decide that a number could be that we could fund, which I'm sure would be we could fund over a 4-year process to get it completed, I think would work. But I think to help our application, if we were under contract, and I'm only saying this from knowing the process, as much as we could put in there that we're doing, that we are moving forward, is a better show for us to make it happen. And then if it doesn't happen, we still got there'll still be a third phase, okay, that we can apply for.
Right. Well, and I say too, I mean, the plan is we'll have to build this trail eventually someday, right? I mean, the plan is to connect, that's why the Safe Routes to Schools stop there at Hendricks Drive, right? There was kind of a larger vision that, hey, we need to figure out how we get it through town. We've kind of figured out the route with Main Street project, completing that, right? We're slowly we're close. We're halfway there now, essentially.
Right.
Now it's a shot down
Right.
Meridian and East Street to the park, and we're there, so.
That's my thoughts.
Yeah, 30% design. We have a proposal, would be $245,000 for 30% docks.
I would just like to raise one point that I absolutely support this. I use the trail myself. I think it's a great thing. It's part of the plan. All these things we've talked about. But what bothers me as a council person is we keep talking about we're going to spend this or that somewhere down the road, and we all agree we've not seen one sheet of paper that says, well, we've committed to $1 million in 3 years, we've committed to $1 million, in 4 years. Until I know what we've committed to, I'm going to have a hard time supporting this for these kind of dollars. So we've talked about it. It's time for us as the council to do that and say, we've talked about, again, X project and Y and Z, and if this grant comes through, we're committed to this, because if all of our grants come through and all of our projects come to fruition, we may find ourselves in a position of, well, we've committed to several $1 million over what we can do. So I think before we even talk about supporting something like this, we need to make sure there's money in the checkbook, and there will be money in the checkbook for all the expenses we've basically said we will commit to.
Right, and that's true. And we're coming up at the budget time next week. What's your date of application that you want, the date that you really want to try to turn it in?
Yeah, we need to have, October 1st is when they're starting being due, but we're gonna need some time to put everything together, as we go along here. So, if we.
You want to get it there plenty of time that they can review it, and if
Yeah.
there's changes, you can get it back,
Yep.
change it.
Yep, your next meeting is the 26th of August, and then you have the 9th of September. I would say the 9th at the very latest. That gives us 2.5 weeks to put the final touches on the application.
All right, so I think we got time that we can talk about it.
Yeah, we have time. We can definitely talk about it still.
We can talk about that and come up, it gives us something to think about.
Okay.
I don't know how Morris or John or Mike feel, what their thoughts are about it. And
My
like I said,
thought
we're coming
was,
to the,
my thought wasn't as eloquent as Brent, but I'm kind of wondering too, how much are we putting out there, but yet we don't have things nailed down? I'm a little bit concerned about that too. So I think talking through the budget and seeing where we're at is a good idea for a big commitment.
And see, I think we can figure that out next week at budget time, I think.
My take on this was Derek just gave us a broad stroke view, and he will have the information we need prior to making any commitment. Because it does need to be nailed down tight as far as how much it's gonna cost and how much it's gonna cost to build and then take care of.
Which we have the exact numbers on what it's gonna cost to build, and what we would need to throw in, as far as the match.
You know all this, but we don't.
Yeah, and I'm happy to forward it to you. It's, it's pretty straightforward. It's, here.
No, but you lived it for years.
Yeah.
This is the very first time I saw it.
Yeah, I can give you a Cliff Note version of what's being presented to consider.
Come to the budget meeting and give us a presentation.
Any other discussion, questions for Derek? Like
Thanks,
I said,
Derek.
we wanted to present to you something that we've been kind of working on for quite some time and wanted to make sure you guys were in the loop on it. So there's
Good.
no action tonight, just want to present it. So,
Good. Thanks,
Okay.
Derek.
Thank you for the time.
Thanks, Derek.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Good job, good work.
okay, that concludes what I have for new business. Anything from council?
Nothing from me.
Okay, we'll move to claims. Entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve claims?
Motion to approve the claims. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Claims are approved. Any discussion announcements?
Nothing from me.
Okay, and then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. In a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Our next city council meeting is Monday, August 26th. Thanks for watching.
You want to look at this,